Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast brought by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kohut, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Charlette Pomme, a movement therapist, functional health coach, and emotional intelligence specialist who developed the Pomme method for alleviating pain, fatigue, and performance issues. Her approach integrates Eastern balance principles, nutrition, modern medicine, brain science, and body dynamics to rebalance client systems, release tension, and foster emotional healing through personalized movement therapy and functional health coaching. With that being said, Charlotte, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's really nice to meet you.
It's great to have you here. I'm happy that you took the time to make an appearance on the podcast. We're going to get right into the conversation, but what I love to do with all of my guests is a bit of traveling back in time, right? So before you even had this company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
So my first route to business was through movement therapy. So I was an executive coach working very hard in London for an international company. And I burnt out basically. But whilst I was working at that company, I was training to be a Pilates instructor. I burnt out as soon as I qualified, and that led me down a path to seek physical well-being again. I was told by my doctors that I would be ill forever, that I'd need a wheelchair and I'd probably get worse. And I remember thinking at the time, that's not true. I just have to find out how to solve this puzzle and become well. So I lived all over the world. I worked with lots of different health professionals, and I lived in different cultures, and I tried so many different things to understand how the brain and the body work. And the main thing that stood out for me is that your emotional and physical body is completely intertwined. So when we work on our emotional understanding, it impacts our mental and physical well-being in the most profound way. It was the shortcut for me to get to where I wanted to be. And now I'm absolutely fine. And so I created my own method, the Pomme method, which I use for performance as well as health and well-being. So I specialize in pain and fatigue, but I work with professional athletes. And now I'm building, or I have launched in February this year, an EQ, an emotional intelligence education company with my best friend, who's my business partner.
Beautiful. So you've really been through the trenches yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and to the bottom. So I was told there's no way out, but there's always a way out.
Yeah, good for you though. I believe a lot of people in those type of situations, they just pretty much give up. It's these kind of news. This is something that we don't ever want to hear. So it's a tough for your mindset and the perspective that you have. But what do you think made it different for you personally that you didn't stop fighting and you just pushed through and figured it out?
Well, that's such an interesting concept because I don't think I pushed. That's the thing for me is as I couldn't push. I was so unwell. There was
Mm,
nowhere to draw energy from. So it was a case of giving in some ways and yielding. So, okay, I've got to listen. I've got to listen to my body. I've got to listen to how I feel and what's going on. And that's what made me stronger. By not turning away from it, by not pushing, by not forcing something to happen, I learned how to work with my body. And I do think that it's because of that I am now fully well. I'm not sure if pushing when I was in that position would have helped me. But I never thought that I wouldn't work it out. It was just something I had to work out. So the people that told me I'd be stuck forever just didn't have the tools. And that wasn't their fault. That's fine. But I had to find the people that had the tools.
yeah, very interesting. I feel like we have to launch a well-being podcast so that we can dive deeper into this because it
Yeah.
really is very interesting to me. But okay, well, Charlotte, let's talk about where this journey overall got you. You already gave us a little sneak peek in terms of who you're trying to help right now. But let's dive even a little bit deeper into this. And also, my goal in this part of the podcast is get the listeners close to who it is exactly that you're going to help, and also what are the core offerings that you have in place for your clients. So tell us all about it.
Okay. So my current mission is my business with my best friend, my business partner. I've developed my method. She developed hers. So she had a different life experience, but we sort of really understood that the brain and the body are the same thing. They're kind of separated in science, but they are the same thing. They operate together. Same with your emotional experience, and there's science to back that up now. So we have gone on our own journeys understanding intellectually what this is. And now we've come together to reach more people. So we've created a business called Unagi Coaching. And Unagi exists because every human is driven by primal emotional wiring that shapes every decision we make and every action we take. So our experience of life, but no one is taught this. So we built from building our practices, we saw firsthand how, and I went through this myself, when somebody comes to you to work on their physical well-being and their physical performance, they start telling you about their emotional experience. And we trained ourselves so that we are ethically and professionally able to support people through that emotional stuff. So the neuroscience, coaching, emotional skill development, we trained ourselves in that. But we realized what was most important is that every single human, doesn't matter what their goal is, because people come to us for coaching for professional reasons now, not just physical. Your subconscious is trying to get you to understand the emotional skills driving your behavior and your outcome. And when we start teaching people this stuff, it really resonates with them because we all know on some level that that's just human experience.
Mhm.
So Unagi's created to shortcut that journey to teach people the EQ skills that they're already wired for, that we already have, how to slide those skills up or down depending on what we want to use them for, what we want our desired outcome to be, so that life is easier, goals are achieved faster, and everything starts to just feel more aligned and just easier. It makes life so much easier.
Beautiful. Now, one thing that I would love to clarify at this point, because maybe some of the listeners listening to the podcast right now, maybe they're not that familiar with who you are and what are the businesses that you run. So I just
Mm,
want to make the distinction because this sounds like two separate businesses. The first
mm,
one where you basically work with the pro athletes that you mentioned a couple minutes ago,
mhm.
and now this other business that you basically launched with your best friend, right?
Yeah,
Now, when it comes to well, obviously the target audience for the first business are athletes. But when it comes to this business, where you work with EQ and other stuff, how would you bring a bit more clarity in terms of what the decision process looks like for you? When you think about who is actually something ideal for me, who am I going to end up working with, who I don't want to work with?
yeah, great. Really good question. And we actually interview people before we work with them because we want to like, well, it's human led, right? So we want to make sure
Mhm.
that it's a fit from both sides because our nervous systems resonate. So if you're working with someone that resonates with you, you're going to be in a place where you can reach those goals faster. So the way that the two businesses are separated is predominantly in the movement therapy practice. People are coming to me because they have a problem to solve physically. So they have a pain, maybe chronic fatigue, or it's performance based. So they want to get better in their chosen sport. And then for Unagi coaching, it's the routes to entry for that are well-being in the workplace, executive coaching, and then personal development. Yeah. We
Yeah.
also have a coaching academy at Unagi. So people train with us to become EQ coaches. So you're trained to be a very high level coach. It's a very comprehensive course, but EQ is threaded throughout that. And then people who are already trained as coaches that want to upskill and add that EQ piece do that too. But the thing that links the two businesses together is EQ and predominantly your nervous system. So I can explain that
Mhm.
if you want me to, like
Oh,
how
absolutely. Please
yeah,
do.
the science behind it. So we have fascia in our bodies. Fascia is like an emotional connective tissue. So if you were to hear a loud noise, your shoulders would rise and your head would come forward to protect you. And it is your fascia is one of the things that transports the signals between your brain and your body to change your posture in that situation. It's why people who are confident tend to puff their chest out a little bit, their shoulders drop away from their ears, whereas people who are unconfident might be standing or moving through life in more of a fetal position. So they
Mhm.
hunch their shoulders forward and protect their heart. So your fascia governs how you move through the world, and it's constantly in contact and communication between your brain and your body. It's part of your nervous system. The other thing that's very important in this EQ piece is your vagus nerve, which is part of your nervous system. Vagus is Latin and Greek for wandering. So your vagus nerve wanders from your brainstem down through your heart, your lungs, your viscera, your gooey bits. And that's where we have a felt sense. So if you walk into a room and you think, I don't know why, but I just don't want to be in here, it's the sensations in your gut telling your brain that something's not right. And all of these things are here for us to keep us safe. So we are wired predominantly to survive. And these survival mechanisms are running the show. So whether you are a leader or you want to work in your professional situation, or you have a personal or a physical journey that you're on, understanding how your brain and your body are communicating and running the show is really important. And you need to work with it because if you push your body to do something, your nervous system is not going to feel safe. So you might make a change, but it might not last, or it might not be the fastest route to entry. And we actually have twice as many messages going up from the body to the brain as we do coming down from the brain to the body via the vagus nerve. So listening to those gut sensations is really important. It's not woo-woo. It's part
Mhm.
of your intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm enjoying myself a little bit too much at this point because I love these topics. So I would love to dive deeper into it, but let's not forget that this is a business podcast. So let me
Yeah.
circle back to what we planned on talking about, and more specifically, I really appreciate you walking us through the journey of how you pivoted and who it is that you're trying to help and how it sort of looks like for the clients and what you focus on. But let's talk about the back-end side of the business. Obviously, for you to succeed, you really have to have a good client acquisition system in place, right? So I'm curious, what is it that you do on the front of marketing and maybe even specifically lead generation to make all of this even happen in the first place?
So we are intentionally human led. We're quite a young business. We launched in February. So it all begins with a personalized discovery call if we're talking about sales. So right now people find us organically through our network. Word of mouth has been huge for us. It always has been through our individual practices. But even though we just launched in February, it's been really big for us. So once people have found us, they contact us, they connect with us directly. And I don't know if you've heard of Rich Litvin. It's a Rich Litvin approach. We give an hour free time, our time, and that's with myself or my co-founder or one of our trainee coaches who are soon to be qualified, and they'll be. It's a ripple effect that we're trying to create. So we'll have more people educating around this stuff. And in that hour, the client can use that to explore what options we have that fit their goals, or they can treat it like a free coaching session to uncover what their goals actually are, because we work with that emotional landscape and clarity as part of the process. If your body is not aligned with your goals, then you're going to veer off track somehow, or it's going to feel really hard to get there. But it should actually feel easy. It might be hard work, but it should feel really exciting. And that's that we help people to work that bit out and feel into that. So that that call gives us the human insight that we need in answer to your earlier question to kind of interview that person, make sure that we're the right fit, and it gives them a genuine experience of what EQ support feels like. So at this stage, our sales process is organic. and it's relationship driven as we grow, and we're building systems to scale that level of human connection.
Beautiful. Now, let me ask you also this. Some people in your industry are relying solely on the organic because of the type of closeness that you want to feel with the audience, right? Which is great.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's really important for you to create a ton of educational content because this is still something pretty new to people, right? So
Mhm.
you gotta get really to close to understanding what's going on here. But also, obviously, as you move on with the project and it all evolves, you might also need to look into other pathways in terms of creating bigger scale, in terms of how many people you end up talking to. So I'm very curious, would you say that when it comes to this project, you're also going to dabble into paid advertisements, strategic partnerships, or any other source of generating leads so that business can keep growing and scaling?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. So our biggest challenge right now is the education piece because getting in front of people digitally and getting people on board digitally is not our fastest route to entry right now because we have to educate people on what EQ is and why they need it before they buy in. And people scroll so quickly these days. That's not that's not working for us in the way that we want it to. So we do have a marketing consultant who's fantastic, who's supporting us. But we want somebody in-house, a digital marketing person to work with us full time in-house to work that piece out. So I liken it to there's this quote, I've forgotten his name, but there's this quote, if you want to get people to build a ship, you don't hire the people you I'm sorry, I've messed up the quote, but it's a really good quote. But he basically says you need to teach people to learn for the vast and open waters of the sea. It's not about
Mhm.
finding the equipment, it's not about finding the team. So our challenge right now in that digital piece is how do we teach people to yearn for the vast and open waters of EQ? So we need that expert that's our next goal. And in terms of advertising and things like that, we don't know yet. We're quite a young business, and that's not mine or my business partner's background. So having that person in house is the next big thing for us next year, early next year.
I like that. I like that because it's quite easy for a lot of businesses, especially if you're new, to just seek help from external sources, right? Working with agencies, different kind of people like this. But when it comes to the control that you really need to have in terms of how I communicate what I do with my target audience, you really have to keep it in check. And there's
Mm.
not really a better way for you to do than to have somebody hired internally really work with you side by side so that they learn what this is and they can effectively communicate it further, right? So I definitely like the thought process on this. Now, also, let me ask you this. I personally feel like there is a lot of potential for the company that you're building, um, which also begs the question. Are you trying to build something big that would, in the future, allow other people come into the system? For example, launching your own departments for marketing, sales, fulfillment, and everything else, or would you rather keep it to a small team, concise and sustainable? Or what is the idea about the growth, really?
In terms of the big picture of how the business looks, we want to reach as many people as possible. We're trying to create this ripple effect. We will create this ripple effect. And we see that quite strongly with everyone that we train and everybody that comes into contact with this work. In terms of the culture of the business, I I love the smaller startup feel. And in terms of culture and EQ, and if you think about those human primal drivers of us being in small tribes and having a place, that works better for humans. So whilst we scale and we want this to be big, we want to be leaders in this space, the culture is very important to us. And we're finding ways to not hire for the sake of hiring in the right places strategically and making sure that people have space to grow as individuals at work as well. And that a huge thing for us is playing with possibility. We want everybody in the business to feel like they can play with possibility within their role. Being squashed and um, conforming is not us. Having too many people can make you feel like that. So the culture is very important. As I said, it's not going to grow people-wise very quickly, but we can still make a big input and a big impact with a leaner team. That's the goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree. Beautiful. Now, Charlotte, let's talk about the future even more in depth. You already gave us a little sneak peek in terms of what's going to happen, but I want to
Hmm.
dive deeper and really talk about, for example, if you think about the next 6 to 12 months, out of everything that you guys want to do, your activities on a daily basis, your goals, targets, what is that for you? What are you trying to achieve from the short-term perspective?
So our top priorities over the next 6 to 12 months is really brand awareness and that stronger digital marketing piece with revenue growth. So all focused on scaling impact. And the biggest opportunity for us right now is awareness because people come to us when they're ready. You know, when you're working on whether it's a personal or professional goal, you have to be ready, but they have to know to come to us. And so not it's not just the awareness of unagi coaching, it's the awareness of EQ itself. That is growing slowly. The conversation is opening up, but we want to accelerate that. So once people understand what emotional intelligence actually is, the buy-in is pretty immediate. Whether they actually sign up straight away or not is just because they're not ready yet, but they 9 times out of 10, and the conversion is that high, they come. They find their way of getting this information to work for them. So our priorities are building a robust marketing engine and increasing revenue so that we as founders can be more time rich because with that challenge of the digital stuff at the moment, so if we're talking about the next 6 to 12 months, when we founders are more time rich, we can get in front of people, do more talks, more workshops, um, coaching senior executive teams in person. The conversion is high. So the plan is to increase that education team as well, and so that we can help deepen that awareness, as well as strengthening that digital presence at the same time, which will free us up to deliver that in-person education where the impact is strongest. So with that greater visibility, it creates a higher conversion for us, and that combination will take us to that next level of growth.
I love what you do. Again, I feel like we could be diving deeper into every single
Go for
aspect that you've mentioned, but
it.
um, so, Charlotte, before I let you go, I also want to ask you my last question. This is actually one of my favorite ever. But considering that you've been in business for quite some time now, if you combine your experience from both businesses, if you could
Mm.
travel back in time, maybe to the very beginning of you as an entrepreneur, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Don't up a limit. So I think I don't know if you know what upper limiting is, but it's so we all get comfortable with a certain amount of goodness, and more goodness lives above that upper limit. But we have to play with possibility to lift that lid, but we have to feel good. We have to feel comfortable stepping into that next level because anything unknown is uncomfortable for us. So if I could
Mhm.
have learned earlier how to play with being comfortable, because I'm very good at playing with possibility, but playing with how to be comfortable in that more goodness level, that raising the ceiling of upper limit and what is possible and feeling comfortable in it, knowing what I know about now about how brains and bodies work, it would have been an easier route and possibly faster, and I might not have burnt out. So raise the
I
ceiling.
love it.
Don't up a limit and raise the ceiling. Get comfortable with more goodness.
Beautiful. Charlotte, let me thank you for taking the time today, sharing the story with the audience and with me. I really appreciate your time. If anybody from the listeners wanted to reach out, get in touch, maybe even work with you, what is the best way to go
Mm.
about it?
So you can go to unagicoaching.com. So that's two G's, UNAGGI coaching.com. Or find me at charlettepomme.com, CharlettePomme.com.
Beautiful. Thank you again. Now, to our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or a coach, or you have an agency, and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io. Get in touch with our team and discover how exactly we scaled our company from 0 to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.